I want you to pause and do a quick body scan. Is your jaw clenched? Are your shoulders up by your ears? Is there a low-grade hum of anxiety vibrating in your chest right now? If you said yes, you aren't just stressed. You are likely part of a silent, invisible epidemic that is sweeping across the modern world. We are living through a paradox that is literally making us sick. We have never been more digitally connected. You can FaceTime someone in Tokyo right now. Yet, we are dying of loneliness. A recent APA poll dropped a statistic that should terrify us. Over half of US adults feel fundamentally isolated. 69% of people said they needed emotional support last year and didn't get it. Think about that. That isn't just a sad stat. That is a crisis of the human spirit. It's a quiet catastrophe happening behind closed doors, in lit-up living rooms, where people are scrolling through feeds, desperate for connection, but starving for intimacy. But what if I told you that the antidote isn't a new app? What if the solution to this modern mental health crisis is actually an ancient technology, a social infrastructure that has been hiding in plain sight for thousands of years? We aren't just talking about thoughts and prayers. We are talking about the neuroscience of belief and the sociological power of the tribe. Today, we are going to look at how faith communities, when they are healthy, might just be the missing link in our mental wellness architecture. Let's look at the biology of this problem first. The US Surgeon General didn't just call loneliness sad, he called it a public health crisis. Why? Because loneliness triggers the same centers in the brain as physical pain. It floods your system with cortisol. It degrades your immune system. Being socially isolated has the same mortality risk as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. And the worst part? We suffer alone because our culture worships self-reliance. We are told to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. So when the darkness comes, when the depression hits, when the anxiety paralyzes us, we hide. Think about the skunk in the basement analogy. If you call a friend and say, "Hey, there is a skunk in my basement," what happens? The cavalry arrives. People bring traps. They bring tomato juice. They bring a casserole. It's a tangible problem with a community solution. But change the script. Call that same friend and say, "I can't get out of bed. I feel a crushing weight on my chest and I don't know why." Silence. The line goes dead. Not because they don't love you, but because they don't know what to do. There is no casserole for panic attacks. There is no trap for existential dread. And so, an informal shunning happens. People pull back, and you are left alone in the basement with the skunk. This is where the ancient design of faith communities enters the picture. And I want to be crystal clear. I am not saying faith is a replacement for therapy or medication. If you have a broken leg, you go to a doctor. If you have a chemical imbalance, you need medical care. This is a both-and conversation. But here is what a pill cannot give you: belonging. Belonging is a biological imperative. We are pack animals. We need to know we are part of a we. When you walk into a mosque, a synagogue, or a church, you are stepping into a space where your identity isn't based on your job title, your salary, or your Instagram followers. You are valued simply because you exist. Let's talk about Maria. Maria is a high performer. She's 28, crushing it at work, but secretly she's falling apart. Panic attacks are hijacking her nervous system. She feels like she's going crazy. She tells her friends, and they give her the worst advice possible. Just relax, have a drink, chill out. She feels broken. Then, desperate, she wanders into a small group at a local church. She's terrified. She expects judgment. But instead, she sits next to an older woman who opens up and says, "I've battled anxiety for 40 years. It's my thorn in the flesh." In that second, the shame evaporates. Maria realizes she isn't defective. She belongs. That moment didn't cure her panic disorder. She still needed therapy, but it gave her the stamina to survive it. It gave her a squad. This works because religious rituals are low-stakes socializing. If you have depression, a cocktail party is a nightmare. You have to perform. You have to be witty. But a religious service? You can sit in the back row. You don't have to talk to anyone. You can just let the music wash over you. You can be present without the pressure to perform. That steady rhythm, every week, same time, same place, becomes an anchor when your mind feels like a hurricane. Now, let's get into the mechanics. How does this actually work in the real world? It happens on two levels: the logistics and the psychology. First, the logistics. This is the casserole brigade on steroids. When you are deep in a mental health crisis, basic life tasks become impossible. Doing laundry feels like climbing Everest. Cooking a meal feels like solving quantum physics. A healthy faith community steps into that gap. They set up the meal train. They drive you to the psychiatrist. They pool money to pay for the meds. They remove the secondary stressors so you can focus on the primary battle: healing your mind. Second, the psychology. A healthy faith community destigmatizes suffering by pointing to their own texts. Look at the Psalms. Half of them are essentially King David screaming at God in despair. My soul is downcast within me. I am worn out from my groaning. When a pastor or an imam stands up and preaches on the reality of sorrow, it gives the whole community permission to be human. It validates the pain. It also acts as a bridge. We know from the data that people trust their spiritual leaders. A 2024 poll showed that the majority of people of faith would seek therapy if their pastor recommended it. Faith leaders are the gatekeepers. When they partner with mental health professionals, they create a superhighway to healing. They can tell a congregant, "Your anxiety isn't a sin, it's a condition, and God has given us doctors to treat it." But we have to address the elephant in the room. We cannot have this conversation without acknowledging the damage. Religious trauma is real. For many of you watching this, the church wasn't a hospital. It was the place where you got hurt. You were told that your depression was a lack of faith. You were told to pray away your bipolar disorder. That is called spiritual bypassing, and it is dangerous. It heaps guilt on top of illness. If that happened to you, I want to say, wait, your pain is valid. That was a failure of the community, not a failure of God. Healthy spirituality doesn't deny reality. It equips you to face it. So, what's the takeaway? The connection between faith and mental wellness is about reintegrating the human being. We are body, mind, and spirit. You cannot treat one and ignore the others. If you are feeling isolated today, I want to challenge you. Don't fight this battle alone. Whether it's reconnecting with a faith tradition, finding a support group, or just reaching out to a neighbor, find your tribe. We were built for connection. I want to hear from you. Have you found support in a faith community, or have you been hurt by one? Share your story in the comments. Let's make this comment section a safe space where we can be honest about the journey. And if you need help right now, check the links in the description. You are not alone.